much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for your leadership of this committee, the last Congress, and for the productive partnership that we have shared and will continue to share. I'm looking forward to working with you and all the members of the committee again this year. I'd like to welcome Senator Hawley from the great state of Missouri. We're excited to have him as a member of the committee, and I look forward to his continued advocacy for American energy. Sad to see Senator Marshall and Senator Lankford leave the committee. We owe both of them thanks for the work they did in advancing American energy. Mr. Chairman, thanks for holding today's hearing, because in November of 2021, Congress passed the $415 billion spending bill, and the Congressional Budget Office said that the legislation is going to increase our nation's deficit by $256 billion over the next 10 years. Under this legislation, Congress approved over $62 billion to the Department of Energy. That amount is in addition to the Department's annual appropriation of roughly $40 billion. So on top of these sums, Democrats in Congress gave another $35 billion to the Department in their Inflation Act. That amount of money that the Department has received over the last 2 years is staggering. So the question is not whether the Department is going to waste taxpayer dollars, but how to reduce the amount that it will waste. And for that reason, I'm glad to have the Deputy Secretary here today. I've supported his nomination. He came out of this committee unanimously. We appreciate the work you're doing. And we are all interested in learning what, if any, new controls or protocols the Department has put in place to reduce any of the waste, fraud, and abuse that is likely to come with that kind of money being spent. Last year, the Department's Inspector General wrote this committee, and she explained that she doesn't have sufficient resources at the Department to monitor the amount of money that is now flying out of the Department's doors. She stated, this is the Department's own Inspector General, stated that she anticipates substantial losses due to fraud, waste, and abuse, in part because the law expands programs with a history of serious problems. So I'd note that the legislation provided nearly $100 million for the Department of Interior's Inspector General, but it provided only about half the amount for the Department of Energy's Inspector General. This seems reckless, given that the Infrastructure Act appropriated more than twice the amount to the Department of Energy that it appropriated to the Department of Interior. So I'd like to know whether Mr. Turk would support redirecting some of the existing appropriations to the Office of the Inspector General within the Department of Energy. I'm also interested to learn what, if any, new controls and protocols the Department has put in place to ensure the legislation doesn't fund our nation's adversaries like China. One program is already raising concerns. Last year, the Department of Energy provided a $200 million grant to a battery manufacturer called Microvast. This company's filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission reveal very troubling connections to the Communist Chinese government. One filing states, the People's Republic of China exerts substantial influence over the manner in which we must conduct our business activities and may intervene at any time and with no notice. The company goes on to state, we may not be able to protect our intellectual property rights in the PRC. Supporters of the legislation said it would help increase America's competitiveness. Now we know the Department has funneled hundreds of millions of dollars to a company that publicly admits it is at the beck and call of the Chinese government. December 2022, I wrote to Secretary Granholm asking her for information about the Department's review process for grants. The Secretary has not yet responded, and I know that perhaps he'll respond today. Finally, I'd like the Deputy Secretary to pledge that funds from the Infrastructure Act won't be used to ban or restrict the use of natural gas in new buildings. Senator Manchin already asked the question and raised the issue of natural gas and cook stoves. In 2021, I warned that this legislation would allow the Secretary to finance entities that seek to ban the use of natural gas in new buildings. I've offered an amendment to stop this. All 10 Democrats on this committee voted against that amendment in the past. That said, they said it wasn't an issue. So I thank the Commissioner, thanks to Commissioner Trumka, that mask has slipped. We now know that the Biden administration is seeking to restrict the use of natural gas in new buildings. We can't let that happen. So I look forward, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Deputy Secretary, to your testimony. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks,